Thank you for joining me here on this Monday evening edition of Josh's Severe Weather. We continue to track dangerous Hurricane Melissa, which continues to increase in intensity and now likely to be one of the 10 strongest hurricanes in Atlantic hurricane history. As of 4 p.m. Jamaican time here on Monday, maximum sustained winds are 175 miles per hour estimated. We'll have aircraft going in to see if perhaps that could even be higher. And wind gusts are over 200 miles per hour. An incredible storm, which is now beginning to make a turn and is likely going to be impacting Jamaica dead on as we get into the morning here on Tuesday. The storm has rapidly intensified. We will probably see that intensification begin to tail off soon. But nonetheless, the waters are very warm and the atmosphere still supports a very powerful hurricane. Even if it begins to tail off a little bit here, it is still going to be an extremely destructive storm. After Jamaica, we are going to see impacts across eastern Cuba, across the southeast, and eventually perhaps a direct hit on Bermuda as the storm accelerates to the north and east. We're going to talk about all the details, what we're seeing today, some of the records that are being broken, some of the things that may make your jaw drop, and honing in on who may actually see the worst of this in the next 24 hours in this video. I appreciate you joining me here. I am a meteorologist in Raleigh, North Carolina. Here, we'll start out with tropical tidbits and a wide view of the Atlantic basin. Hard to miss Hurricane Melissa, not a massive hurricane, but a very intense hurricane moving now to the northwest and getting closer and closer to the western side of Jamaica. That is centered here about 100 miles or so to the southwest of Jamaica and aimed at the western side of the island. Aside from that, we don't have any other concerns for anything to develop tropically. Just a low pressure area east of the Azores. We have some waves that are coming off of Africa, but very hostile environment, so no development expected. And unsettled weather continuing in the eastern United States. More heavy rain moving into Florida. We could see additional areas of localized flooding like we saw here yesterday. And another storm to follow. But the only good news about these storms, although we're seeing active weather, is that they are going to be steering Melissa away from the United States and up to the north and east as we get later into the week. So no United States threats expected from these. Just information from the National Hurricane Center has winds up to 175 miles per hour. Satellite estimates are actually a little bit higher, and some of the dropson data that have been taken from aircraft indicate maybe those winds are even a little bit higher, but that is kind of a happy medium between flight level winds and what's been dropped down into the ground. But the minimum central pressure is a staggering 906 millibars. So that puts the storm about as strong as what Hurricane Dorian was when that struck the northwestern Bahamas back in 2019. And we all saw the destruction that caused, a very slow moving storm in the northwestern Bahamas. Right now, the storm is beginning to make the turn. It's moving slowly northwest at 3 miles per hour. It will eventually be moving northward overnight and beginning to turn more to the northeast during the day tomorrow. The forward speed will also begin to accelerate as we start to see a trough moving in from the southeastern United States. Will begin to pick up that storm and finally lift it north and east. But unfortunately, the damage will be done before that happens. The location as of 5 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Jamaican time is 16.7 degrees north and 78.4 degrees west. And we now have hurricane warnings for portions of the Bahamas, the Turks and Caicos, and we will likely see down the road hurricane watches for Bermuda. Here's a look at the latest track. It's been adjusted slightly to the west, but still likely to impact southwestern Jamaica, just up the beach, it looks like, from Treasure Beach. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more and show you more detail. The expectation is that this will still be a Category 5 hurricane when it makes landfall. The National Hurricane Center has it at 175 miles per hour. Interestingly, the satellite has the eye center just a little bit west of this track. It will probably wobble a little bit in both sides, but it has been wobbling a little bit left of the forecast track. It may correct itself. It may still come a little bit farther west, but it's highly likely that this is going to hit Jamaica. Actually, I'll just say it right now. It's going to be definitely hitting Jamaica at a right angle, and where it makes immediate impact could certainly magnify the amount of damage and destruction that we see here. But as the storm comes in, it is expected to slowly weaken and then more rapid weakening as it moves over Jamaica And that likely landfall time is going to be later in the morning tomorrow, probably sometime between 9 and 11 o'clock Jamaican time. After that, we're not just completely finished with the storm. It is next going to be attacking Cuba and maybe getting close to Santiago de Cuba, which is a little farther west than Guantanamo, but a very highly populated area of southeastern Cuba. There are heavier mountains off to the north and west that could see tremendous amounts of flooding. Right now, Category 3 hurricane intensity is predicted as the storm will be accelerating, but also will have spent some time over Jamaica. And that landfall is expected before daybreak on Wednesday. And then it is likely the storm is going to weaken some down to Category 2 intensity. We don't want to diminish that. That is still a powerful storm. 110 miles per hour will do damage, but fortunately not quite as strong by the time it exits Cuba and approaches what looks like it'll be Crooked Island and Ackland Island, I believe, Ackland's Island here. Although still a possibility there could be a little bit of adjustment to the west or to the east of that, but more than likely Crooked Island is going to take the brunt of this storm. Beyond that, the track does bring the system very close to Bermuda, likely as a higher end Category 1 storm. There's a chance it could still be a Category 2. The timeline on that, it's going to be early on Friday the 31st. And then after that, we will potentially have some impacts across portions of Newfoundland as the storm accelerates and begins to lose tropical characteristics, but no threat to the east coast of the United States. Now, some interesting parts of the discussion I do want to bring up here. First of all, we don't have an aircraft in the storm as of this taping here at about 5 o'clock Eastern for Jamaican time. We will have aircraft getting in a little bit after this video goes live. So it's possible the storm could end up being a little stronger than what we see. I can't imagine it's going to be weaker, but dropsondes have actually measured winds slightly higher. But right now they are averaging out kind of a mixture of what you would estimate from what the flight level winds are and what the dropsonde is measuring. But in between, there are some higher winds in there. And in Jamaica, there are some higher peaks. So at the beach level here, we may be seeing these winds close to 180 miles per hour, but up in the mountains, we could be talking 200 mile per hour winds if nothing changes between now and tomorrow. And there are no signs of any organizational changes at this point. There's no signs of weakening right now. There's a potential there could be a little bit of weakening, but again, it's very difficult to predict something like that happening. It would be an internal eye wall replacement cycle. And right now, there are no signs of anything. If we take a look at the infrared satellite, and I'm going to click on it and give you kind of a closer view of it here, you're going to see there's nothing on this that indicates any kind of change to the structure of the storm. In fact, it's just continuing to look like a storm that has nothing set to slow it down until landfall. It's just very well wound, very dry eye, very warm inside the eye, and the water temperature south of Jamaica are actually even a little bit warmer than where the storm has been over the past 24 hours. Although at some point something's going to have to give here before landfall. If you take a look at the water vapor image and you notice this number up in here, you'll see that the how dry the air was and how warm it was inside the center of the storm. You see the brown in here indicating very dry air. And this is going back to about the middle of the night. Now, as we move forward, the eye has continued to warm, and we see a number that is almost all the way up to freezing here at the center. And that is a record value in the Atlantic Basin and maybe even worldwide to see a temperature at the center on water vapor imagery at actually just above -5 degrees Celsius. Very rare, but we've had so much dry air across the Atlantic Basin, hence the fact that we've had fewer storms. The ones though that have busted through have been intense. I mean, this is our 4th major hurricane and our 3rd Category 5 storm of the season, which is awfully remarkable. But the fact that the temperature here of the center here is almost -4 degrees Celsius, which is about 26 degrees Fahrenheit, is just insane. So not trying to rub things in, just from a weather perspective, this is very fascinating to me, and I'm sure something that will be studied even more. But again, there's just no signs of something like that. If you take a look at the visible, you see the satellite here, or you see the stadium effect, just a very healthy, robust system. The eye continues to tighten a little bit more. It's not as small as Hurricane Wilma was, where we had a 4-mile wide eye, but it's 10 miles wide. And the tighter it gets, the more the storm can actually intensify its winds around the eye. And that's still something that is possible here heading into the nighttime hours. We do see oftentimes some sort of strengthening coming at night. This is called the diurnal maximum, where there's more instability at night due to the change in temperature between the water and the air. As the air cools, that actually sets up more instability in the ocean. It's just warmer with respect to the air. So there's still an opportunity here over, say, the next 10 or so hours in this area where water temperatures are blazing hot, where this storm could find a way, if it does not go through an eye wall replacement, to actually strengthen even a little bit more to say maybe 180 or even 190 miles per hour. I had the radar from Jamaica. I'm probably getting throttled because everybody's on here, but no signs of eye wall replacement. If you look at the microwave imagery from earlier this afternoon, again, you see no signs of concentric eye walls. You see one eye wall here. It's very well defined at this moment. Here's a look at some aircraft data from cyclonicwx.com. And the latest message came in at 12:47 Eastern. We're going to have another one here probably in about an hour or so. Flight level wind 161 knots. That comes down to about 160 to 170 miles per hour at the surface, assuming nothing weird going on. It's probably a little stronger than that now. Birds in the eye wall, a closed eye wall of 10 miles wide or 10 to 11 miles wide, and the pressure down to about 908 millibars. So that pressure has still dropped a little bit. But dropsondes taken earlier today measured winds at 907 millibars in the northeastern eye wall of 210 knots, meaning there was data taken that in the strongest part of this storm in the eye wall, when you get up about a few, maybe 500-600 feet or so, winds were gusting to 240 miles per hour. So that is not made up. That is factual measured data. Now, by the time we got down to the ocean level, those were lower. We're looking at 170 miles per hour, but still, that is awfully remarkable. And then, it wasn't just one measurement that saw that. Later on, another data point came in where we had measured 197 knots, which is about 225 or so miles per hour, maybe 230 miles per hour of winds just above the ground, about 400 or 500 feet up. So assuming nothing changes, those higher elevations of Jamaica could feel some of these intense winds as the storm is making landfall and just beyond. You can see the pressure has dropped substantially here. Even throughout the day, it is still falling, not quite as rapidly now that the storm is getting close to peaking. But still, we could still see the pressure drop down to about 900 millibars, maybe even a tiny bit lower. Either way, it doesn't change the impact here. If we take a look at the wind field, and I guess the maps are getting updated now. We just have this new advisory. But if we take a look here at where this storm is likely going to go, we are more than likely going to see this landfall somewhere in the vicinity of Black River, which would bring tremendous surge of over 13 feet in from the south, hitting these beaches between Black River and, say, Treasure Beach. As the storm is moving inland, it's going to hit the higher ground and move from St. Elizabeth up to Trelawney, I believe it's called. And there's a very large nature preserve here. I wish my map would actually tell me. Maybe I can get it on here. I guess not. That is going to see just an extreme amount of actually, I've got the map here on my other device off screen here, but we'll just see incredible amounts of wind. We're talking everything can be devastated kind of wind. And it's really sad to talk about this. I know as a meteorologist, it's exciting to study these kind of extreme events, but at the end of the day, this is life-changing. This is a generational storm. But folks that are inland across northern portions, inland areas that are going to be cut off here for, weeks to months, are going to see incredible damage. Cockpit country, that is the area, cockpit country. No, not South Carolina, but Jamaica, is going to see incredible amounts of damage here with wind gusts perhaps to 200 miles per hour. As this storm continues northward and gets to the north coast, there's going to be northerly winds that hit areas west of the track with incredible strong winds and surge. And that could include Montego Bay, but areas east of Montego Bay, all the way over here towards the north central coast of Jamaica, are likely going to get crushed with damaging wind gusts. Even Ocho Rios and some of the resort towns are likely going to get hit very hard here. Kingston, I was more worried a few days ago before this westward shift, but there's still a potential for very strong wind and surge to inundate portions of Kingston and Spanish Town. but it looks like the worst is going to be more off to your west. Um, it's hard to say which part of Jamaica is going to end up with the least amount of damage because everybody's going to see some. There are places that are still recovering in the southwestern portion of Jamaica from Hurricane Beryl last July. Here we are, or end of June. Here we are 15, 16 months later, and we're still dealing with hurricanes, and this one quite a bit stronger. Stronger than Gilbert in 1988 by quite a bit. On top of the wind, it's not just that, it's the rain. We've already had a lot of rain. We've had some flooding. On top of it, 20 to 30 more inches, 500 to 750 millimeters more near the track of the storm across western and central portions of Jamaica. Also, Cuba, I don't want to forget about you all. You're going to see incredible amounts of rain, although the wind will not be quite as intense. In particular, up against the mountains here of southern Cuba and Haiti. I hate to say it, but the rainforest area here and some of the higher elevations, we could see another foot on top of what's already fallen. And this is going to take years to clean up from, unfortunately. Dominican Republic, several more inches will be possible. And parts of the southeastern Bahamas, we will see several inches of rain and likely some wind damage. Even the Turks and Caicos, Great Inagua, even into parts of the central Bahamas, there will be some potential for damage. There will be some wind and some rain, some surge, some coastal flooding here, but not nearly as strong as what's expected near the track of the storm. Looking at arrival times, this has not changed from my video this morning, but if you are tuning in here for the first time, I do want to show this to you. It is going to be getting very bad here around sunrise on the south coast of Jamaica. It's already bad now, but hurricane force winds will be hitting before daybreak and building inland. And then as we get into the morning hours, it just goes downhill from there. On the north coast of Jamaica, it will go downhill closer to lunchtime and stay bad into the afternoon. And then things will gradually get better later in the day. And then at night, things get a lot worse in southern Cuba, southeastern Cuba. And then overnight, things are going to go downhill very quickly before things gradually improve as we get into Wednesday morning. Across the southeastern Bahamas and surrounding islands, we will see conditions going downhill early in the day on Wednesday, maybe late Tuesday night. The worst weather will be the first half of Wednesday, then things will gradually improve. And then up in Bermuda, we will see conditions getting worse as we get later into Thursday night and the worst of it during the overnight hours and then improving quickly on Friday morning. Models have not changed too much on the track here in the longer term, a little bit of a shift left. There's still a chance that this could push the worst of it to the west of Bermuda down the road, but not much changing for Jamaica, Cuba, or the Bahamas. The Google DeepMind has not changed a whole lot. We do see, though, the mean of the Google DeepMind getting a lot closer to the Avalon Peninsula of Newfoundland down the road here this weekend. Probably not an immediate threat to Nova Scotia other than rough surf and some gusty wind. But Newfoundland, definitely keep an eye on this for the time being. Eventually, Europe will get the remains of this, but not a direct hit. And you can see our model guidance in very good agreement through about 72 hours, which gets us to Thursday afternoon. Then it begins to spread out just in time for the system to get close to Bermuda. And almost a 50-50 split with 50% of the models going west of Bermuda and 50% going east. There's always a possibility it could go directly over the island as well. Here's a look at the halves model. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but you see a very intense system beginning to make the turn and then beginning to turn more northeastward. This is 7 a.m. Jamaica time tomorrow, and this is 10 a.m. So landfall likely going to be in that 8, 9, 10 o'clock time frame. The storm does weaken some and then eventually gets bigger. Wind shear starts to pick up, but that actually gives the storm the possibility of getting bigger and bigger over time, although it will be weaker near the middle. And more islands and more areas get impacted due to that wind shear. And then over time, you see the storm getting awfully close to Bermuda. This particular run of the HAVS regional forecast model does show wind gusts on Bermuda approaching 100 miles per hour if this track is correct. Now, if it goes south and east, we're going to see significantly lower winds. If it goes farther west, again, that is possible. But I would not be ignoring the risk for hurricane conditions. I know if you're in Bermuda, this is something you are probably well prepared for, but still, let's not make light of this situation. But you're not going to see the kind of damage your neighbors to the south and west will be seeing. Here's the expected radar for Jamaica, and you can see the rain bands getting heavy overnight, but the worst of it with the eye wall coming inland here into southwestern Jamaica later in the morning tomorrow, continuing into the afternoon, and then improving pretty quickly by evening. Cuba getting really bad tomorrow night, continuing into early on Wednesday, and then improving. The Bahamas going downhill in the afternoon, then improving at night. And then we can see this on the doorstep of Bermuda here before daybreak. And maybe it opens up and we get a prolonged dry period here in Bermuda early in the day on Friday before the back end hits, and then it's out. After that, just keeping an eye on the rest of the basin here. We don't see any immediate threats. You can see here, this is the European model. It shows our storm system moving pretty quickly later on in the week and then getting picked up by a front following with much colder air, the eastern United States. There is going to be another frontal boundary that fortunately stays east of Florida here early next week, but unfortunately could get stuck in the Western Caribbean and the Southwest Atlantic. So more rain is in the picture here. And anytime a front gets stuck down here, we just have to watch it. I don't see any immediate threats for any kind of tropical development, but some of our models have been showing maybe some lowering pressure in this area, just something we've got to watch at this point. More than likely, it's going to be more of an issue for Central America. But, you know, with it being still 10 days away, give or take, there's still a lot of uncertainty. But you can see here, in fact, there's such a strong trough on this run of the GFS that whatever does form actually gets pushed southward and kind of gets stuck over Honduras and Nicaragua. But again, it is probably going to change quite a bit. What I did want to point out, though, is behind this storm system, we do get a break in the rain, especially in Florida. We get a break here towards the weekend and early next week. But there's still some rain out here. It could be pretty heavy, especially on the western side of Jamaica into Cuba and more so in Central America. So this could change quite a bit, but we are going to have to monitor, again, the risk for some heavy rain through the windward passage, through the southeastern Bahamas. Anytime there's a front hanging out here, you can see there's potentially another 100 to maybe 300 millimeters of rain that could fall at some point in here. So we'll keep an eye on that for you here. GFS does have a couple of solutions that down there, GFS ensemble, that is, shows a couple solutions that try to spin something up, but it will be probably at least 10 days. The Google DeepMind only has one solution that tries to pull something up and then it weakens it over Cuba. Let's hope nothing happens, but just something we're going to have to watch down the road here. Can't believe it. Another M storm here that's going to get retired. We've had way too many of them. Mitch, Matthew, Maria, Michael, Milton last year. Here comes Melissa, unfortunately. I really hope everybody takes the storm seriously. I appreciate your time this evening. My thoughts and prayers are with everybody who's being affected by this storm. If you learn something, if you want to continue to have updates from me, I'm going to try to be back on here twice tomorrow. I urge you to become a subscriber, share with your friends and folks that are in the affected area. I do want to close this video out with a word of God for the people of God, because I am a Christian and that drives me to do what I do every day. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. That is Isaiah 41:10. The words from the prophet Isaiah, couldn't say it any better, but is very, very difficult to go through these kind of disasters. But God gives us strength. He does it through his son, Jesus Christ, who gives us eternal salvation and grace and forgiveness of our sins. That's where my strength comes from. That's where your strength comes from. We can't rely on external sources. God gives it to us. But we're going to have to go through what feels like some incredible storms and incredible challenges in our life. I just pray that you can see that there is still hope no matter what is going on today in your life today. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and I look forward to sharing more information with you and trying to keep things as calm as possible, even though it is awfully nuts at this point. Thank you all so much. Have a great evening.